fellow Movie Crusaders, welcome to another episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. As today we are going to be reviewing 2009's reboot of Chucky and Child's Play. Now, for me, I actually really like the Chucky franchise as a whole, and that's the thing, is the Chucky franchise isn't over. Like, they came out with a movie, I think it was last year, or 2017, which was The Cult of Chucky, which I think is like is it the 7th or the 8th film of the franchise? So I mean, they're still actually coming out with movies for the old school franchise. It's the same actor playing the voice of Chucky and and stuff like that. So this reboot kind of came out of nowhere, because it's like they didn't end the Chucky franchise. They're still gonna make those Chucky movies, but for some reason they decided to do a take of Chucky. A modern day version of Chucky, so just being a little bit different, I guess. So it was weird that this movie came out because of the other franchise still going on. I don't know if I thought that franchise was going to come out with another movie. I heard about a TV series, so I really don't know how this interacts or if this clashes with what's going on with that. But yeah, so we have this new version of Child's Play. It's a complete redo of the Chucky franchise. There's no bringing anything up from the previous franchise. This is a completely complete remake of the Chucky franchise. There are obviously differences. Obviously, the only real similarities of this film is that the boy is still named Andy, and Chucky is still a buddy doll who kills. But the actual story of Chucky, because in the original Chucky, it was Carly Ray, I believe was his name. He was a serial killer, and he was basically chased into a toy store by the police, and he knew voodoo, and he transferred his soul into a good guy doll, or a buddy doll, before he died. So that's how Chucky had a soul, and how Chucky was a killer. It's because it was holding the body of a serial killer, and then he was going to put his soul into Andy. And then, I mean, that was what the original was, and then, of course, the sequels were kind of more comedic, and then Chucky got a wife, and then Chucky had a son, and Chucky and all this stuff. This round, it's still comedy. This is a very comedy-heavy horror, which is not a bad thing, but there is no serial killer soul being put into Chucky this time around. This time around, and I guess this kind of rolls more into the plot base of the film as well, is this Chucky is kind of like if Alexa came out, or Siri or Alexa was put into a doll, and then the doll went bad. Because basically there's this company called Kazplan, or Kazlan, I think it's Kazlan actually. And basically, they're like the Apple of the world. They have self-driving Uber cars. They control your TVs. They control your music. They control all your phones. They control your temperatures in your houses, security cameras, everything. This company owns everything. And so basically, they created this doll for kids to play that also can control all of the things in your house. So literally, this doll can turn on your TV, change the channels, adjust the temperature, call you an Uber. So basically all of this stuff at the hands of a child, which is stupid, but that's nothing against the film. It's just like, who would think that would be a good thing? That, and compared to the Chucky of old, this Chucky looks creepy as hell. There's not a single moment in this film that this doll does not look creepy as F. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then basically, in the beginning of the film, at one of the plants that make these dolls, a Vietnamese worker gets fired, but before he gets fired, he has to finish this last doll. And so basically what he does in terms of like revenge is that he turns off all the safety blocks and all the safety parameters in the chip. So where the other dolls can't cuss or do anything bad and they have to follow orders, this doll can basically be free-willed and do whatever it wants. And that's what ultimately turns out to be Chucky. So it's not like a malicious, like this guy was going to, wanted this doll to become a murderer or anything. He just kind of maybe just wanted the doll to be defective and maybe hurt the company. But I don't think that was the intent to be what Chucky ended up being. So then obviously this, it gets shipped out, stuff like that. And then we get introduced to Andy and his mom, Karen, played by Audrey Plaza, and Andy played by Gabriel Bateman. And Andy's like 13 years old. He has a hearing deficiency. He has to wear a hearing aid. His mom, Audrey Plaza, she works at a kind of like a Walmart kind of store. And basically she gets a defective Buddy doll to give to Andy as a pre-birthday gift because he always plays with the Buddy app. So she decided to give him a doll, which he's a little too old for that. But anyway, he ends up developing a relationship with Chucky, thus being what ends up happening with the film, and then obviously chaos ensues. So that's, kind of the main plot of the story of Chucky. It's not that there's a serial killer stuck in Chucky this time. It's literally a robot who just gets misunderstood and confused and then ends up becoming a serial killer. Now, what works for Child's Play? Frankly, a lot of it. I actually had a blast watching this film. I went in with very low expectations. The biggest thing for me that made me excited is that Brad Dorndorf, he usually does the voice of Chucky, and Mark Hamill is taking over the reins for the voice of Chucky this time around. So I was real excited to see what Mark Hamill could do, because, he is a phenomenal voice actor. He's Batman's Joker. He's the best Joker that's ever been. I know, in cartoon form. Yes, Heath Ledger is a phenomenal live-action Joker, but as much as I love Heath Ledger's Joker, he doesn't stand anything in sight of Mark Hamill's version of the Joker in all of the animated movies and TV shows that the Joker's been in. But yeah, I think Mark Hamill does a great job. Yes, there are certain times where you clearly hear that it's Mark Hamill, and it kind of can take you out a little bit of what's actually Chucky. But that doesn't... It's not necessarily a bad thing, it could have just been like, oh, they decided to get Mark Hamill to be the voice of the Chuckies. Or the good guy dolls, because they're not all called Chucky. Or Buddy dolls is what they're called in this film. They're good guy dolls in the original Chucky. They're called Buddy in this film. But yeah, the Andy, played by Gabriel Bateman, fantastic job by this kid. He does a really good job. He carries the film. His interactions with Chucky actually work and make a lot of sense. Like when I watched the trailer, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna buy a 13-year-old having a doll to talk to and play with. But based off of how the story goes and how his character is, it's plausible and it makes sense. And because of the way Chucky is integrated with technology, it's also kind of thing where everyone's kind of cool with this doll. No one's like, oh, that's for kids. Once they start playing with it or messing with it, everyone kind of wants to have a go with it. So Chucky's actually a very popular item for people of all ages because of what Chucky can do. And one thing that I wasn't expecting from this film is that for at least the first half of this movie, I sympathized and felt sorry for Chucky. This movie actually made me feel bad for Chucky, because Chucky is just trying to be a best friend to Andy. He doesn't have that serial killer element like he did in the original. He's just trying to be the best friend that he can be for Andy. And just like a child, he sees things and he gets confused. Like at one point, Andy and a bunch of other kids are watching horror films, and they're all laughing and having a good time, and Chucky's just sitting there watching the horror film, and so he thinks, oh, they think that's fun, murdering people and stabbing people. I'm gonna go grab a knife and I'm gonna pull a prank. And of course they all get upset, and then Chucky gets kind of sent to his room, and Chucky's like in timeout, and he just looks so sad. And I felt so bad for Chucky. It's like, he was confused. He didn't know. Like, you guys were all acting like this was the best thing ever, and he was just trying to be a part of it, and you guys shunned him for it. And then, like, when he first starts to kill people, he's doing it in protection of Andy. Like a dog. If your dog sees you be hurt or sees you be attacked by somebody, that dog's going to protect you. Or it should anyway. And that's what Chucky does. And then something happens later in the film that officially turns Chucky full on bad. But, like I said, the first hour of the film, you actually feel and have compassion for the Chucky doll in the movie, which I never thought I would ever have overall with that film. So for the film to make me feel that way, huge kudos, because I was not going into that film expecting to have an emotional relationship with the Chucky doll overall. Aubrey Plaza does a solid job as Karen the mother. You also have Brian Terry Henry. He plays Detective Mike Norris. He's pretty solid in the film as well. You also have other characters that pop in and out. They're just little side characters. They get some time to shine, but not doing everything. Beatrice Kitsos, she plays Fallen. She's a standout for me in the film. I thought she did a really good job. The only negative character I thought was Ty Consiglio. He plays Pug. He's just a bad actor. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if he's personally a bad actor or if he just was told to act that badly. But he was literally the only negative I really had in the film. So yeah, I mean, in terms of what works, everything worked for me in this film. The only negative I had was this one actor who played Pug. I just didn't enjoy his performances. He was over the top. He was incredibly cheesy with his lines. And it just didn't work for me overall with his character. But after his initial first few scenes, his character kind of dumbs down quite a bit, and so he's not as bad. So it's not something that ruins the film. You're just one of those like, oh, I hope that character gets killed off kind of thing. Which I know is pretty messed up to say about a teenager, but still, it's a horror film. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I really quite enjoyed this film. I had a lot of fun, and a lot more fun than I expected. I mean, I've always had fun with Chucky films. Out of all the Chucky films that have come out, there's only been like maybe one or two that I really didn't have fun with or enjoyed. So Chucky's always been one that's been a consistent enjoyment for me. And with this movie, I was actually worried and concerned about how the film was going to be. But overall, I laughed. I had a good time. The kills were pretty cool. There's some great jump scares in the film as well. Great use of the technology and stuff like that. And a new introduction to the way Chucky can become scarier, and a different version of Chucky while still having the old version out there still somewhere in the movie verse. So overall, I highly recommend Chucky, or Child's Play 2019. I think anyone who likes the Chucky films, as long as you can remove yourself from what the original Child's Play films were and allow yourself to adapt to a new version of it and not be stuck to what it was, I think you guys would have a great time. People who just want to go see a horror movie or a fun horror movie with some good comedy elements, good jump scares, good kills, I think you guys are going to enjoy this as well. Date night wise, if you guys like to go see horror movies on a date night, I think you guys would enjoy this overall. Like I said, I liked all the performances. Gabriel Bateman, like I said, as Andy, did a great job, and Mark Hamill did a solid job as Chucky. And the animatronics of Chucky as well, I thought did a fantastic job. So, highly recommend Chucky, or Child's Play 2019 overall. A huge surprise this year that I was not expecting, and I highly recommend checking it out. I think you guys will have a good time if you like these kinds of films. So, rolling into the top movies of 2019, Chucky does get into the top 10, and he's going to come in at the number 7 spot. So, going to the top 10, Avengers Endgame still at that number 1 spot, followed by Rocketman, then goes to Booksmart, 4 is Us, 5 is John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, 6 is Long Shot, 7 is the debuting Child's Play 2019, followed by Brightburn, Disney's Aladdin, and Shazam, with Godzilla King of the Monsters falling out of the top 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this review is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button, but most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that way you guys stay up to date with all the latest that pop on the channel. And coming up next, we have the Toy Story 4 review, so feel free to check that out on the channel. And also, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. And until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.